What's the coolest shiny Pokemon? Charizard? Rayquaza? How about Greninja? Wait, I'm starting to see a trend here. Obviously, black shinies are the coolest, and today we're gonna see if they're capable of beating Pokemon X. In this game, the shiny odds are 1 in 4,096, which is better than the previous 1 in 8,192. This is nice for me because I'll be playing with full odds. But to take it one step further, I'm making this a hardcore Nuzlocke. If you don't know what a hardcore Nuzlocke is, you can see the rules on screen now, and they'll be in the description down below if you'd like to refer back to them. Also, let me know in the comments what your favorite shiny is. Last thing before jumping in, it took me forever to complete this run, so if you enjoyed the video, all I ask is that you show some support with a like, and if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. It really helps out. That's all for now, so let's get into it. In an effort to fully embrace this challenge, I named myself Darkness, which hopefully brings us luck. While X and Y have a better shiny rate than the games before them, shiny hunting the starter is a much longer process. There's a whole section of dialogue before you can see if it's shiny or not, but finally, after 11.5 hours and at reset number 1668, we get our shiny Froakie. Now the run can finally start. I know he isn't black yet, but just you wait. He also has a careful nature, so that minus special attack is gonna be rough. With our starter secured, we can make quick work of Shauna and her Fennekin with 3 bubbles and move on. In Santalune Forest, there's a trainer with a Pikachu, and since I already have my encounters planned out, we still only have Froakie. Thundershock does half our health and gives me the terrifying realization that if I ever wipe, I'll need to shiny hunt the starter again, and it'll probably be more than 11 hours next time. Luckily, after our second bubble, the Pikachu growls, and since we outspeed, we can take it out with one more. Froakie lives to fight another day. In Santalune City, I spend basically all my money on this black hat, one step closer to our perfect look. Once Froakie gets to the level cap of 12, it's time to battle Viola and her bug types. Surskit is part water, so it resists bubble. I fish for a paralysis turn 1 with Lick and don't get it, so I decide to growl next to lower the water bug's attack. By the time we take Surskit down and level up, Froakie is left with 22 HP for Viola's ace, Vivillon. If this thing uses Infestation early, we have no chance of winning. It hardens on the first 2 turns, so we get some bubbles off without taking any damage. Tackle does 7, so we can survive 2 more, and our third bubble crits, which is massive. Since Viola burned her potion on Surskit, it just takes 1 more bubble after eating Tackle to win this fight and earn our first gym badge. Now I take some time to evolve Froakie into Frogadier, and at level 17, it's time to get our next shiny. Most sane people would decide to skip shiny hunting the Kanto starter because as part of the soft reset, you need to battle Sycamore, who has all 3 base forms. I am not a sane person. I'd say I got pretty lucky though. After 14 hours and 1,231 resets, I was blessed with the queen herself. Also, unlike our Kalos starter, Charmander actually has a plus special attack nature, Rash. Now we meet Lysandre, who's spouting some pretty radical thoughts to Diantha, but no way he'd ever do anything malevolent to act upon them, right? Anyway, we destroy Tierno's Corphish on the way to Camphrier Town, so we're clear for our next encounter. I'll also just mention that Bunnelby and Furfrou both have black shiny forms, but I decided not to hunt for them because they really won't help the team out too much. But on Route 6, we're going for a Honedge, which has a 15% encounter rate. Somehow, after only 3.5 hours and 534 resets, we come across the Blood Red Blade. Shadow here has a modest nature, which is about as bad as we could get, but I'm definitely not hunting for another, so she's on the team. Pretty soon after catching Honedge, Charmander evolves into Charmeleon, and we arrive at Parfum Palace. Ain't that the truth, Shauna? I definitely didn't take 10 minutes struggling with the Furfrou puzzle designed to stump children, and as a reward, the castle owner gives me and Shauna a private fireworks show. Oh, and the Pokeflute, I guess that's important too. After getting past the sleeping Snorlax and rolling Trevor and Tierno in a double battle, we make it to Connecting Cave. Which means it's time to get our 4th team member. This much shiny hunting before the second gym is really starting to get to me, but I know after this one I get some breathing room, which is enough motivation to push through. A little disheartening though that Axew, which we're hunting, only has a 10% encounter rate. But after 22 hours, about 3,047 encounters, I finally run into the little guy. This catch won't come easy though. Axew has Dragon Rage, which would 1 or 2 shot everything on my team. After Frogadier gets dropped below 40 HP, all I can do is switch to Charmeleon, but the dragon uses another right away. I decide it's do or die here, so I throw a ball and actually manage to get the catch. Nether has a hasty nature, which is pretty solid. I'll always take plus speed. With our squad of 4, we can finally move on to Glittering Cave, where we have our first encounter with Team Flare. After clearing them out of the cave, it's finally time to take on the second gym leader, Grant. His lead Pokemon, Amora, goes down to a pair of Water Pulses after paralyzing Nightfall with Thunder Wave and missing a takedown. Then Tyrant comes in and hits us with Stomp while we fire off another Water Pulse for around 40% of the T-Rex's health. Unfortunately for Grant, his next Stomp crits and leaves Frogadier with 5 HP. This means he's in Torrent range, so a second Water Pulse is strong enough to take Tyrant down and win us our second gym badge. Recharged from that flawless gym battle, it was time for hunt number 5. On Route 10 in these games, there's a 20% chance to encounter an Eevee, and in Pokemon Y, there's also a 20% chance at an Electrike. Umbreon and Manectric both have black shinies, and even though we'll already have one dark type with Greninja, it felt wrong to do this run without Umbreon, so that's why I'm playing X. After 16.5 hours and 2,863 resets, I finally managed to find my shiny Eevee. Void does manage to put up a bit of a fight before being caught, but it's all worth it once I get her friendship maxed out and finally get our first true team member, that sweet black and blue Umbreon. Ugh, it looks so good. If only she didn't have a mild nature. Definitely no Team Flare grunts here. Oh, Karina wants to battle. Her first Lucario hits a power-up punch before losing half its health to Darkwing's Dragon Rage. Then after a Metal Sound, the fighting dog goes down to another shot of D-Rage. After her second Lucario's power-up punch, we can't take another, so we Dragon Rage and swap to Shadow, who can't be hit by the fighting type. Lucario actually doesn't have any moves that can do damage to Honedge, so we take 2 Metal Sounds while setting up Swords Dances, then kill with Shadow Sneak. In the Tower of Mastery, we meet the Mega Evolution Guru. Way to blow the whole illusion, man. Guess we'll still battle Serena for the Mega Ring. Umbreon is honestly such a broken Pokemon. Like, this thing has no right having the defense and special defense stats that it does. After a fake out, Void tanks 2 Disarming Voices and drops Meowstic with a pair of bites. I gave Umbreon the Rocky Helmet in order to do damage while soaking up attacks, and that item won't be leaving its side all run. Baby Doll Eyes has priority, so I'm guaranteed to lower Absol's attack stat before it can hit me. I use 3 while eating some attacks and then swap into Frogadier, but a critical hit slash brings him all the way down to 27 HP. I Water Pulse to get the Dark type into the red, and then a non-crit slash only does 15 damage. Since we outspeed, we can finish Absol with one last Water Pulse, and Serena sends in her starter, Quilladin. I bring in Charmeleon, who takes Bite pretty well, and after one more, we're able to beat our hometown rival with a Fire Fang followed by an Ember. At the new level cap of 32, we've got nothing to do but take on Karina for our next badge. Wanna see a Sentient Sword sweep her team? Mienfoo can't hit Honedge, but instead of swapping it out, Karina goes for Fake Out 3 times in a row, and then I put her entire team out of its misery with 3 Aerial Aces. And you're supposed to be the Mega Evolution successor? Speaking of Mega Evolution, we go back to the Tower of Mastery and wash Karina again, but unfortunately have to deny Lucario entry to the team because its shiny is yellow. Gross. Before entering the gym in Coumarine City, Serena challenges us to another battle, but her team hasn't really changed, so we'll skip over this. Let's see how our fight against Ramos goes. He leads Jump Bluff as I send out Darkwing. Acrobatics crits for big damage, but Charmeleon fires back with a massive Flame Burst for a one-hit kill. With the Gardener's Ace Go-Goat on the field, it's time to swap into Void. Bulldoze lowers our speed, but that won't matter with priority Baby Doll Eyes. It also helps that Ramos is using Takedown since Go-Goat takes recoil and Rocky Helmet damage, which will stack quickly. After dropping its attack to -3, Umbreon uses Moonlight, which she learned at level 33 to almost get back to full health. Ramos does decide to use a Hyper Potion next as we get a crit bite for decent damage. Another Baby Doll Eyes and Bite bring Go-Goat down to the red, but Ramos pops another Hyper Potion. Without any more healing, the Grass Ghost type eventually takes itself out with Takedown Recoil as Void is sitting at a healthy 99 HP. Last is Weepinbell, who's only able to get an Acid off before being dropped by 2 bites and a quick attack from our indestructible tank. Honestly, I don't know how nobody at Game Freak questioned whether Umbreon with Baby Doll Eyes and Moonlight would be broken, but I'm not complaining. While battling Flare Grunts in the power plant, Charmeleon evolves, giving us that incredible black Charizard. Greninja also decides to join the party here, so the team is really coming together. Also, that sprite is just unreal. Our first fight with a Team Flare admin is an easy win for Nightfall, as Ariana's Mightyena goes down to a Surf and a Water Shuriken, so now we're free to circle back to Lumiose City. After Clement turns the power on to the Prism Tower, which definitely isn't a ripoff of anything in the real world, we can challenge him for our 5th gym badge. But first, Shadow evolves into Doublade, who sadly still isn't black. I taught Nightfall Rock Tomb, which is super effective against Emolga, so after bringing the flying rat into the red, it Volt switches out to Magneton. Greninja's work here is done, so now it's time to bring in Umbreon and start eating Thunderbolts. We chip away at the cluster of magnets with bites, but with Electric Terrain up, Thunderbolt gets a 50% power boost. I Moonlight until the terrain dissipates, and knowing Clement will use his next turn to reset it, I get a free switch into Axew. One dig from Nether is strong enough to get the knockout, and now Emolga returns. It's back to Void for me as Clement heals his lead. We take Aerial Ace nicely and then get a Moonlight off to heal ourselves. After a few Baby Doll Eyes, another Volt switch comes out, and the swap this time is Clement's Ace Heliolisk. I lower its attack one stage, but Thunderbolt hits back hard and paralyzes Umbreon. I'm not sure why I decide to switch to Doublade here since its special defense is terrible, so after another T-Bolt, I need to swap again. Axew's resistance means he can survive one more, so I put all my faith in Dig. Surviving on just 2 HP, we're able to burrow underground, and when we emerge, Heliolisk goes down. I definitely can't stay in against Emolga, and since my team is looking really beat up, my only switch is to Charizard. Luckily, Emolga would never go for an electric type attack against Axew, so we safely get our Fiery Girl on the field and get tickled by Quick Attack. Darkwing is able to outspeed Emolga, so it just takes a single Flame Burst to get the kill and finally win this battle. If Clement had a 4th Pokemon, we probably would have needed to sack something here, but I'm glad we didn't as Axew evolves into Fracture and we finally see the color scheme coming through. In Laverne Town, we get one step closer to the Edgelord Drip, buying a black V-neck and red skinny jeans. It's not just a phase, Mom! Valerie is hands down the easiest gym leader in this game, so let's have a little fun here. Although she's the fairy type leader, her lead Mawile doesn't have any fairy moves, so I use 3 Dragon Dances while taking crunches. Since she did use an Iron Defense, we're technically at +1 attack on Mawile, but that's still strong enough to KO with a single dig. Now Mr. Mime and her ace Sylveon go down to Poison Jabs, and that's all she wrote. Nice and easy. The 3 ancillary friends finally put themselves to good use, distracting the Flare Grunt so I can enter the Pokeball Factory. Here we take on 2 more admins, but they really don't put up much of a fight and the factory is saved. Go capitalism! On Route 16, we can finally catch our final team member, so I start the last shiny hunt of the run. About 4 hours later, or 942 resets, and I managed to catch myself a shiny Pumpkaboo. Blackthorn has a timid nature, which is rough since he's a physical attacker, but we'll make do. After saving Abomasnow from Team Flare, we finally have access to Mamoswine, which we can ride through the snow on Route 17 and arrive at Anastar City. While I was planning for this run, I did make one minor mistake. I forgot that Pumpkaboo is a trait evolution. Luckily, my good friend Peter Killian Hexington was available for a quick trade, so now we have ourselves a beautiful Gourgeist. Serena still poses absolutely no threat to this team, and after sending her home crying, we can finally enter the Psychic-type gym. While battling some gym trainers, Nether evolves into his final form, the fully black Haxorus. So cool. Now let's take on Olympia. She leads Sigilif as I send out none other than Void. After Reflect goes up, our bite only does around a quarter to the flying type. We take Air Slash like it's nothing and continue to chomp down on Sigilif, eventually taking it down after 2 Hyper Potions from Olympia. Next is Slowking, and after our first bite, Umbreon gets yawned. I don't want Void falling asleep, so I decide to bring in our newest team member to deal with this. Blackthorn tanks Power Gem, and then a Seed Bomb absolutely massacres the water type. Meowstic is last, and after taking a good chunk from Shadow Sneak, a Shadow Ball almost kills Gourgeist. I go back to Umbreon, who feels nothing from the next one. Olympia knows she's powerless now, so she tries to buff Meowstic with Calm Mind, but one bite from Void finishes the Psychic Cat off and wins us another gym badge. Wait, Lysander is evil? Well, I for one am shocked. Guess I should stop him. There are 3 Lysander battles in a very short span here, so I'll just be covering the last one when his team is at its strongest. I do have to battle each admin one last time, but let's look at the one against Celosia because things got a little dicey here. I lead with Void against her Manectric, and after a pretty weak Thunderbolt, we use Bite and get paralyzed from Static. After getting the Electric Dog down to the yellow and healing basically back to full with Moonlight, I decide to swap into Nether. He takes Manectric down with a Dragon Claw, but of course Static procs again, so that's 2 of my Mons paralyzed. Drapion is her ace, and its Poison Jab does a lot more damage than I thought it would, so after getting fully paralyzed, I need to switch out. I go to Charizard, who I forgot to fully heal as Drapion Acupressures, getting a special defense boost. I Fire Fang here, completely forgetting that Drapion is Poison Dark and not Poison Bug, so this is bad. Another Acupressure raises Evasiveness, as all I can do is Fire Fang again. Poison Jab does more than half the health Darkwing has left, so now it's on to Mon number 3, Doublade. Shadow Sneak does basically nothing to the Dark type as a Night Slash hits back pretty hard. Maybe Greninja will do better? The 100% accurate Surf misses because of Drapion's evasiveness boost as Nightfall is hit with a super effective X-Scissor, bringing him into the red. I can't believe how hard this thing walls me. Even though she's paralyzed, I have to go back to Void here, who takes about a third of her health from X-Scissor, but that Rocky Helmet is putting in work. After a missed quick attack, it's do or die since one more attack will take Umbreon out. We connect, but it doesn't KO Drapion. Luckily, Celosia got greedy and went for another Acupressure, so we barely make it out of this one as Void connects one more quick attack for the win. What's even scarier about this situation is that Brianni makes you fight her immediately after without a chance to heal. After Fake Out, Void is able to survive Liepard's Slash and get a Moonlight off, so now I have some breathing room. Taunt stops my next attempt to heal, but 2 quick attacks plus Rocky Helmet damage KO the cat. Bisharp is next, who I wasn't expecting to have X-Scissor, but we hang on with just 8 hit points and heal up with Moonlight. I decide to gamble on another X-Scissor coming, so I swap to Darkwing, and good thing I was right, or we would have been holding a Charizard funeral. A single Flamethrower gets the kill and wins us this battle. Now I can finally breathe again. Lysander is holding this monster of a man in his basement, but we don't have time for a story, old man. The last of Team Flare's scientists is Xerosic, and he unexpectedly puts up a good fight. His Malamar has Contrary, so after using Superpower, it gets an attack and defense boost instead of drop. I swap into Doublade since she can't be hit by the fighting type attack. Payback hits hard, but I Iron Defense so I can survive another on 18 HP. A critical hit Iron Head means we can seal this one with Shadow Sneak, so crisis averted. At the sight of the ultimate weapon, I make my way through hordes of Flare Grunts, catch this non-shiny deer, and now it's time for the long-awaited battle with Lysander. He leads me Enshao against Doublade, so I take 2 turns getting my defense to +4 while he can barely scratch me with acrobatics. 2 Sacred Swords take the fighting type down, and then Pyroar hits the field. This thing would destroy Shadow with Fire Blast, so I bring in Nightfall to eat one. Even though it was a crit, we take it pretty well, and a single Surf is strong enough to get the KO. Honchkrow is next, but honestly, I'm not afraid of this thing at all, so I surf it into the yellow as Aerial Ace brings Greninja into the red. We outspeed and ride another wave over the bird for our 3rd knockout, leaving Lysander with only his Mega Gyarados. And who better to take out a big physical attacker than Void? Outrage would be a 3-shot, but after a Baby Doll Eyes, we survive the 3rd on 6 health and then Moonlight as Gyarados gets confused. I lower its attack one more time, then bring Doublade back in. Earthquake brings Shadow pretty low, but it just takes 1 Sacred Sword to wrap things up here. Then Lysander snaps and fires a shot from the weapon, killing himself and his entire organization. I guess them's the breaks. Let's act like we didn't just witness all those deaths and continue on our journey. In Terminus Cave, I grab a Dusk Stone, which means we can finally evolve Doublade into Aegislash. Look at that team. Have you ever seen a cooler collection of Pokemon? We take down Sycamore and the Kanto starters, and then it's time for the infamous bridge battles. Shauna is first, and she leads off with Delcatty. Knowing this thing has Play Rough, I can't leave Greninja in, so I swap to Charizard. After Charm, a single flamethrower gets the kill and Goodra is next. I go back to Nightfall, who takes a Dragon Pulse fairly well. Return does pretty good damage, but after a second Dragon Pulse, I'm forced to switch to Void. Goodra switches to Earthquakes now, and after the second, I Moonlight to get close to full. Now I Baby Doll Eyes, so EQ barely does damage. After another Dragon Pulse, we're able to drop the Dragon with Bite, which only leaves Shauna with Delphox. Calm Mind and Mystical Fire aren't enough to take Umbreon down, as we're able to finish Shauna off with 2 bites. Next up is Tierno, and we aren't allowed to heal before him. He leads Talonflame, but this is why I had Greninja out front to begin with. We outspeed and Surf for a kill, and then Rose Raid comes in. Darkwing handles it no problem with Flamethrower, and then Haxorus takes Crawdaunt down with a Dragon Claw followed by a Poison Jab. Trevor heals the team before challenging us to the last of these battles, so now we're back at full strength. Haxorus gets nuzzled by his Raichu, so we're paralyzed here. We get fully paralyzed once and then Dragon Dance while taking slams. Now in the red, we finally get underground and fire off a dig for the one-shot on the Electric Mouse. Florges is next, which means a swap to Aegislash, who's hitting the field for the first time. Moonblast does virtually nothing, and then after a useless Confide, we destroy the flower with Iron Head. Aerodactyl is last, who outspeeds in Supersonic Shadow, making her hit herself in confusion for good damage. Scared of losing my Aegislash, I swap to Greninja, who tanks Crunch and wins this battle with Surf. With all that done, we finally make it to Snowbell Town, where the 8th gym awaits us. After we find Wolfric caring for abused Pokemon, it does pain me a bit knowing what we're about to do to his team. But only a little. Did somebody order the number 1 combo? Yeah, that'll be a Flamethrower, Flame Charge, and another Flamethrower, but sorry, we're all out of ice for your drink. Maybe I didn't need to do Wolfric like that. Before Victory Road, I finally complete the outfit we've been after as I don the black chinos. Now nothing can stop us. I backtrack through routes to grab a bunch of TMs and held items, but I noticed that my Aegislash doesn't have King Shield. By going to Route 8 and fishing with the Old Rod, you can reel in Love Disc, which have a 50% chance of holding the Heart Scale. After Greninja steals one with Thief, we can go to the Move Relearner in Dendemil Town and get Shadow's signature move. Serena stops us for one last battle on Victory Road, and since this is the last time we'll see her, let's check this one out. Aegislash in its shield form is extremely bulky and can take a Shadow Ball from Meowstic while setting up with Swords Dance. Next turn we Shadow Sneak to get the kill and Serena sends out Absol. I switch to Umbreon and start stacking Rocky Helmet damage and Baby Doll Eyes, but Absol's Swords Dance boosts outweigh the drops I'm giving it. I decide to go to Greninja since he'll resist Night Slash. Unfortunately, a regular slash crits, so Nightfall is low on health. I go for a Surf, which is enough to take the KO. I didn't damage calc that, wonder if it was a roll. With Altaria up next, I go back to Aegislash, who'll always reset to shield form when switched out. We resist all of the Dragon Fairy's moves, so after Swords Dancing to +6 attack and accidentally pressing it for a 4th time, we destroy the Cloudy Bird with Shadow Sneak. Serena's Vaporeon also goes down to the +6 Ghost move, but surprisingly her Chestnut only takes around 70%. We flinch it though, so next turn Shadow has no trouble taking it out with one more. Just like that battle, the rest of Victory Road is nice and smooth as we finally arrive at the Pokemon League. I'll usually get my team to the same level as the Elite Four's Ace, but I wanted a bit more of a challenge, so I went with level 63. I decide to take on Malva first since I think she'll be pretty easy for this team. I lead Haxorus against her Pyroar and Dragon Dance until I get to +2 attack, which takes a while because the Lioness keeps dropping our attack with Noble Roar. But eventually I get there and can KO the lead Mon with Earthquake. Talonflame is next, but since Nether got a bunch of speed boosts from D-Dances, he outspeeds and Rock Slides for another knockout. The bulky Torkoal can't stand up to +2 Earthquake, and her last Pokemon, Chandelure, also goes down to a Tremor. Feeling good after soloing Malva. Let's see if Drasna puts up more of a fight. The Dragon Master leads Dragalge, and I send out Aegislash. Shadow tanks a Surf followed by a Thunderbolt while Swords Dancing up to +4 attack. Next turn we Shadow Sneak and the Poison Dragon actually survives, but we get the flinch. Drasna heals, but this Shadow Sneak crits, so that's one down. Noivern is next, and since we're in Blade form, I decide to swap to Umbreon. After being hit by Flamethrower and Dragon Pulse, I fire off a Snarl to lower the Dragon's special attack. After healing with Moonlight, I Snarl 2 more times while eating Dragon Pulses and then swap to Haxorus. 2 Dragon Pulses still puts us pretty low, but now at +1 attack and speed, we can KO Noivern with Dragon Claw. Aegislash comes back out against Altaria since we already know how little damage it'll do from our battle with Serena. Drasna's has Sing, but we wake up after one turn of sleep and use Swords Dance. Hot and Guard basically negates Swords Dance, so now at a net +2 I try to Iron Head but get put to sleep again. This is dangerous since now Shadow is in Blade form, so I swap Void into a Dragon Pulse. I try to Snarl, but Umbreon also gets Lullabied and Moonblast brings her into the red. After getting the special attack drop, we're able to survive another Moonblast and Moonlight back just over half health. Then we cycle through Snarls and Moonlights for a while until Altaria is at -4 special attack. I bring in Blackthorn, but another Cotton Guard means the Fairy is at +4 defense and we're a physical attacker. I decide to use Trick or Treat to change Altaria's typing to Ghost, and after dodging Sing, I see that Shadow Sneak does almost no damage. I switch to Nightfall, who's a special attacker, and because of all the Snarls, Dragon Pulse barely hurts. One Dark Pulse later and the now Ghost Bird finally goes down. Drasna's last Pokemon is Drudogon, so I set up a substitute, but one Revenge breaks it, so I need to switch out. Gourgeist is unaffected by the Fighting type move, and then another Trick or Treat comes out. Dragontail brings Greninja back, but a single Dark Pulse won't kill, so I switch out again. Blackthorn hits Shadow Sneak for good damage and manages to avoid the Dragontail, so next turn a Phantom Force connects for the win. Just 3 more battles to go. Before Wickstrom, I decide to raise everyone's level to 64. Don't really know why, but we're still lower than the ace. The knight leads Klefki as I send out our trusty Aegislash. Turn 1, we take Dazzling Gleam for almost no damage and start setting up. After Spikes and Torment, we're at +6 attack, so now it's time to get a kill. The set of keys stacks a second layer of spikes before being dropped by an incredibly strong Iron Head. Probopass comes out next, and unfortunately, since it has Earth Power, I can't stay in with Shadow. Charizard avoids the ground type move and then hits Flamethrower, but only does half the Stoneface's health before getting massacred by a 4 times effective Power Gem. Yeah, that one's definitely on me. What was I thinking? Crushed by our first loss, Greninja steps in to avenge his sister-in-arms with Surf. Wickstrom's own Aegislash is next, so Nightfall sets up a substitute while the Sword goes for King's Shield. A critical hit Dark Pulse almost gets the kill, and then Aegislash uses Sacred Sword to destroy our sub. After setting up a second sub on the heal turn, we're able to KO the Blade form with a single Dark Pulse. Scizor is last, and for some reason I swap out instead of getting some free damage first. X-Scissor tickles Shadow, and then the bug hits into our King's Shield, giving it a -2 attack debuff. Now I bring in Blackthorn, but Night Slash crits, leaving us in the yellow, so it's an immediate swap to Void. I Baby Doll Eyes to get Scizor to -3 attack, and then Nether hits the field for the first time this battle. 2 Rock Slides later while tanking X-Scissors, and we have ourselves another victory. Would have been a lot easier if Darkwing had stayed alive, but we'll dedicate the rest of this run to her. The last member is Seabold, who commands water types. Clawitzer is definitely scary with Mega Launcher, but Gourgeist is able to outspeed an Oko the Lobster with a Seed Bomb. Next is Gyarados, so just like against Lysander, I bring in Void. We trade Baby Doll Eyes and Dragon Dances, so the Leviathan is still technically boosting its speed and hitting me with Waterfall every so often. After eventually getting him down to -2 attack, I switch Greninja into another Dragon Dance. One more puts Gyarados back at neutral attack as I decide to use Substitute. Seabold gets greedy here and uses another Dragon Dance, so we're able to bring the sea monster to the red with Dark Pulse. After a full restore, he Dragon Dances again, so by the time he finally uses Earthquake, all he's able to do is break our substitute and die to one last Dark Pulse. I Surf against Barbaracle, which only does around 40%, and luckily we avoid a Cross Chop, or that would have been the end of Nightfall. I bring Gourgeist back in, who's unaffected, and then KO another of Seabold's team members with Seed Bomb. Last is Starmie, who hits hard with a crit Psychic, as Seed Bomb just isn't enough to wrap things up. I Shadow Sneak on the healing turn, so now I need to bring in Shadow since Blackthorn is low. Psychic and a crit Surf do about half Aegislash's health, but after a Swords Dance, the priority Shadow Sneak is strong enough to finally beat the last Elite Four member. With that out of the way, it's finally time to face off against Diantha for the title of champion. Her lead Hawlucha and my Aegislash mirror each other turn 1 with Swords Dances. After a not very effective X-Scissor, I get to +4 and King Shield to knock the Lucha Bird back to neutral attack. Now I boost my attack again and take first blood with a Shadow Sneak. Goodra is the switch in and I King Shield to scout its attack. Fire Blast is blocked, but now I'm in shield form, so we take one pretty well and get our second KO of the match with Iron Head. Tyrantrum goes down in similar fashion, hitting into a King Shield and then getting Iron Headed after a -2 crunch into shield form. More of the same against her Gourgeist, attacking into King Shield and then getting Shadow Sneaked for a kill. We outspeed Aurorus and kill with Iron Head, and all that's left is that Mega Gardevoir. Are we gonna solo the champion with Aegislash? Shadow Ball says otherwise. Shadow goes down, but put up one heck of a fight. Let's see if the rest of the squad can bring us home. I go to Umbreon next and manage to get off a Snarl before being dropped by Moonblasts, which do insane damage. Gardevoir has super effective moves against my entire team, so let's hope that -1 special attack helps out. Greninja's Surf gets the Mega to 50% health, and he actually hangs on with 8 HP after the Moonblast. Now in Torrent range, Surf is strong enough to wash away Gardevoir, and with that, we've defeated Diantha and completed this Nuzlocke. When I had come up with the idea for this run, I didn't exactly know what the team was going to look like, but I have to say, it was extremely powerful. I still get chills looking at the all-black shiny team, and I can't believe I actually put the time in to hunt for each of these mons. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. I'd really appreciate it, especially given the time that went into making this run happen. If there's enough interest, maybe I'll do another with a different color. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.